Hello,
My
good
computer
morning,
is
good
really struggling.
afternoon, good evening. Welcome in the next webinar of Learn Grasshopper Live. As always, just leave a comment if you can hear us and see us well. Good afternoon, Nathan. Hello, Nathan, can you hear me?
Hi, how are we?
Yes, we are.
Hi,
We
yep, I can
are.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are live. So we have already some people waiting, already 146 minutes. So we will start in just 3 minutes. 3 minutes we will start live. So just write on the chat if you ever used Grasshopper or IDEA Statica. And so are you a Grasshopper user, or maybe you are a Statica user that never heard about Grasshopper or Rhino? So just leave in the chat. We have also poll that you can also answer your question. How are you doing, Nathan? Oh, yeah. We lost connection with Nathan, but yeah, I think he will come back shortly. So still we have some 2-3 minutes. So take your water, take your coffee. We have some people. Hi, Frederico from Brazil. We have Tobias. Hi, Tobias. HD. Yes, we increased the to HD resolution. So we can hear it. We have Nathan come back, so that's good. Let me see here.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Sorry about that.
Good to have you. You just took some water and coffee, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see. Anna. Hi, Anna. I have used Grasshopper. Can you tweak a little bit about implementation, these uses in small scales design? Actually, we are going to talk about small designs with Nathan as well. Let me see. We have Anthony. We have Mohammed. So yeah, lots of people today. So you are
Yeah, good to
based
see.
in Europe, right, Nathan? Right now, you are visiting cold winter Europe.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly. So I'm in Brno, Czech Republic right now. It's the headquarters of IDEA StatiCa. So I'm actually based in Melbourne, but come here a couple of times a year to meet up with the team and sort of discuss all these different topics. So it's good to be here. It's good to be not 2 a.m. in the morning. So
Yeah, so without any jet lags and without any evening lives, what was the temperature difference between Melbourne? You're based in Melbourne, right?
yeah, exactly. It's about 20 degrees different at the moment, I think.
Okay, not that bad, not that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, not
So,
too bad.
okay, we are starting in 35 minutes. We have also Adam with us, Adam from IDEA Statica. So if you have any questions, we have also support here. Adam is from the technical team of IDEA Statica. So if you have any question, if you are IDEA Statica user, so of course Nathan will try to answer, but we have also Adam on the chat, so he will help us too. We have Emre. Okay, lots of people here. Good. Everything is working. All the streams. So let's go. Yeah, we have lots of IDEA Statica users. But also like Stefano is using already IDEA Statica and Grasshopper. But today I think he will also benefit from this webinar. I seen already Nathan presentation, so it's going to be a lot of practical stuff. All right. So we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So if you are watching on one of these platforms, as always, just leave a like, subscribe to our channels. It will help you to reach more people and produce more these webinars and invite great guests like Nathan. About today's presentation, so it will be 1 hour. Of course, if it will be more questions, so we will try to stay a little bit longer, but session time is about 40 minutes. Q&A session after 20 minutes. But if you have any questions already, so you can just write on the chat. So we will try to put it on the screen and answer. Already seen some question about the recording. Yes, it will be available on our platforms. And together with recording, you will get the presentation. And Nathan also promised to provide some Grasshopper files, right? A little bit
Yep.
about
So
spatial connection.
all
So
the
we will
files I'll
deliver
present
that.
today will be available. Yep.
Yeah, so we will send it. So you can still register if you haven't got any email from me. So you can still register on learngrasshopper.com/IDEA StatiCa. And as always, write your comments and questions. We are together with Adam. So here is a comment for Adam, the customer care team of IDEA StatiCa. So we are here to help you. Okay, 3 benefits of joining this webinar. So first, we'll deeper understanding of what is IDEA StatiCa, a little bit about the software. Nathan will introduce it, and afterwards get inspired about the project and examples how we can use Grasshopper to actually connect different softwares and automate our design. And as I said, some Grasshopper files so you can already train and practice after this workshop. Okay, so let's start it. Without further ado, optimizing structural connection. We will talk about IDEA StatiCa and integration with Grasshopper. Just 2 words about me. My name is Krzysztof Wojsław. Now I'm based in Poland. I'm a structure designer, been working as a bridge designer for 10 years. 2 years ago, I decided to go 100% on YouTube and learn and creating learning materials. So now I'm having my own educational platform and teaching actually engineers how to start with Grasshopper and parametric design. I'm also connected with academia. So I'm an academic lecturer at the Norwegian University and also at the Global Master Program at Ziggurat. Okay, but this is this was short about me, and today we have Nathan from IDEA StatiCa. He came from Australia to Czech Republic, but not because of this webinar. They have some integration, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So today, without any jet lags, without evening webinars, here we can start it. So if you, Nathan, can share your screen in the meanwhile, so we can start your presentation, introducing a little bit what is actually IDEA StatiCa. We had some already comments that people never heard about it, so maybe just few words so we can start it. And Nathan, have you shared your screen?
I
think you have.
just
I think you have to check it, share it one more time. Hi, Ahmed from Nigeria. We have also Shantan. I think I pronounced it correct. Okay, so let's start it. So the floor is yours, Nathan.
Hi, thanks, Chris, and I guess thanks for having me today, and thanks for your platform. I think when I first got started in Grasshopper, I was always looking for something like what you started to produce here. So thanks a lot for having me, and it's actually an honor. So a little bit about myself, where I came from. I'm a structural engineer trained. I worked as a structural engineer for about 8 years. Um, in Melbourne and also in London with Bureau Happold. I was working at Geometry Gym. A lot of you guys who know Grasshopper probably know Geometry Gym, and I was lucky enough to work with him for 3 years. And now we've been working with IDEA StatiCa for just over 2 years as a BIM and API specialist, and also work in the product development team. So hence why I'm in Czech Republic at the moment. And just a little bit about IDEA StatiCa for those of you who haven't heard of the company. Basically, we work in the realm of structural details. So anything related to steel connections, concrete D regions, and also, I guess, general members. So we have a range of products which I'll briefly touch on. We have about 10,000 desktop licenses and many more users. All our software is verified by universities. And we also, the team I work with is developing CAD links and links with your programs to get those forces and stuff in quickly into our applications. So the main application we have is IDEA StatiCa connection, and what it allows is the automated generation of a quick FEA analysis to perform a component-based finite element modeling of a connection with basically any geometry, any loading you can think of. The FEA model is automatically created, and then we also produce what we call a component-based design. So we go back from the FEA analysis, design all the bolts, all the welds, all the plates to code very quickly. If you have tried to design a connection like this by hand, this could take you a couple of days.
Yeah, it's a difficult stuff, right?
And we can kind of give you feedback with in our connection software. We can sort of do that quite quickly. You can design a connection very quickly and get, I guess, feedback. My realm is the connection modeling, and that's what we're going to talk about today mainly. Once you've got that connection design, we can perform all types of analysis. We just do stress strain analysis, but also buckling, stiffness. We also do fire design, fatigue, and other types of analysis on connections as well. So once we've built that model, we've got a lot of different analysis types. We also have a member application, which is works similar to the connection application, but here you can kind of introduce connections when you're trying to design a more members of sort of any geometry with holes and stuff like that, and start to perform these types of analysis as well. Geometric nonlinear types of analysis on these members. And we mainly talk about steel, but we also have a lot of concrete apps. So we have RCS, reinforced concrete section, which basically allows section checks, code-based calculations for reinforced concrete sections, pre-stressed, post-tension concrete sections. We have our beam application as well. And we also have our detail application, which is basically for any geometry of wall loading or those those D regions of concrete elements with holes and stuff like that. So we can all do full reinforcement designs of those types of structures.
And I can imagine that you can also check all the with the Euro codes and American codes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in detail, all the concrete apps are all for Eurocode. With detail, we have Eurocode, and we also have the American code as well. So we can, in detail, we can design for the American code. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a question. Is it does also software allow to composite construction? And because you talked about concrete, you talked about steel. What about the composite?
Not at the moment. No,
Okay.
it's either a steel member or a concrete member in the member application. Yeah. Adam can give me some more advice on that as well after. And I just want to do a quick shout out. We have just released a new RCS API. So if you have used, I guess, some of IDEA StatiCa's APIs in the past, then we have a lot of users with RCS, and we've just released a new API for that. So please check that out if you're interested. And what I work on and what I kind of in our team is the BIM links, and the main application we have for BIM links is our checkbot application, and we kind of like to call this sort of the hub of structural design. It basically links in with your existing FEA application. It kind of works on top of that, and you can select, whole parts of your structure, bring that into Checkbot, and start to use that as a design management. So we have the import, we have sync, and management of your connections and members as well. We have about 20 plus and counting links. So if you haven't seen this before, this would probably be sort of your more general type workflow when you're using IDEA StatiCa connection or BIM integration. So
and the link with Grasshopper, you are mainly responsible for that one?
The link with Grasshopper, yes, is something that I've kind of developed, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology behind behind that, and behind how we develop our checkbot links as well. It's quite integrated, I guess I would say, in how we kind of do our interoperability at IDEA StatiCa. So what we use is what we call our IDEA open model. And there's a lot of, I guess, object models being generated in the industry at the moment. And we have had IDEA open model around for a while, and it's basically our object model, and we develop it so we can obviously import translated information into our directly into our applications, basically. So it's free, it's open source. And this is what the Grasshopper plugin is based on, and this is what all our links are based on. So any link that goes from any FEA or CAD application to Checkbot creates an IDEA open model file, and basically that file is just transferred in XML. So I'll show a little bit about that, but it is good to understand kind of what's happening in the background, and kind of understand how we're transferring data around.
And
So
this IDEA open model file, so you say that basically speaking, you can read it in every software. So Sophistic, Doable, FemDesign, so every software can read this extension?
It can't read it, but what our aim is to do is to allow the translation from those particular softwares to IDEA StatiCa. So we typically are doing a conversion from that base application to IDEA StatiCa using this file format. And I guess that's actually a really good lead into the next part is the SAF structural analysis format as well. So we use the SAF format, and if people aren't aware of what SAF is, it's basically another open source object model for structural analysis to transfer structural analysis models, and we're using this to sort of connect with apps such as FemDesign and Sophistic, and SIA as well. So we're actually using this file format as well, and I'm going to show that a little bit as well in the Grasshopper stuff.
And I see Caramba 3D is coming, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to show a little bit about this, because I know a lot of people would have been like, well, if you're in Grasshopper, I need to connect with Caramba. That's what I'm using, and I'll show a little bit how we're using the SAF format to kind of to do those translations as well. So
cool.
So I guess I just want to briefly talk about the Grasshopper plugin and the makeup. So we have kind of two main aspects to it at the moment. The first aspect is this IDEA open model components, and what they basically therefore is to generate IDEA open model. So if we talked about going from an FEA to the IDEA StatiCa application, well, instead of say converting to an IOM, we can just create it directly. We can create it directly in Grasshopper, and that's what these components are for. They're for importing or creating or modifying IDEA Open Model. And the big power of this, or our of the Grasshopper plugin, is it's basically allowing explicit modeling of these elements, especially for connections such as like plates and bolts, welds as well. And the big thing here is the geometric conversion, right? So from IOM to Rhino, you can view these plates, you can view the welds, you can view, I guess, the bolts and stuff like that, and start to build up connection information. And you can do this for free. So IDEA Open Model is free. You can generate IDEA Open Model for free. You can start to generate these connections or whatever you like for free. It's open source. And then the second part is the connection API component. So basically, how do we take an IDEA Open Model and create a connection file from it? Or what if I want to do something with the connection file that I have, such as I want to run the calculation, or I want to sort of, import a connection file and do some modifications to it, and get production costs or the stuff that's available in the connection app. And this requires an API that connects to the connection app on your computer. So you obviously need a license of IDEA StatiCa to get that to work, basically.
Yeah, and as you said, this IDEA Open Model component, so actually you can import that and work for free. So this components, Open Model and Open Model Create, all these components, you can get it for free. Just download and just import that from different softwares, right? This connection and work in Rhino.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll show a little bit about this in some of the examples that I'm going to show. So yeah, I'll just quickly briefly touch on how you can install the plugin. So it's basically available through the Rhino Package Manager right now. It's built for Rhino 7, but it can be used with Rhino 8. So it's because our API is running not quite compatible with Rhino 8, we can change it, or there's that workaround. And there's when you install it, you get a whole bunch of examples with it. And we also do have, I guess, documentation on how it's working as well at our developer website. So yeah, be very keen for anyone to jump on and download it, and hopefully some people from this webinar will start using it after the chat. But so just before I kind of show the examples, I guess want to just briefly touch on some of the ways, or the two typical ways, that you might use Grasshopper for generating, I guess, connection geometry. And we sort of talked about the explicit component geometry, and that's the power of Open Model. Components are based off geometry in space, so all our plates. And you typically might want to create a connection purely from IOM when you basically really need like a powerful geometry engine like Rhino and Grasshopper, and when it's really hard to, I guess, position plates and stuff in space using, I guess, a UI of a program. And also, like, if you've got differing number of elements in that connection, but the logic is the same, that's the power of Grasshopper. And that's where you might want to use, I guess, IOM to generate the whole connection in space. And then we also have another way of, I guess, automating some of the connection components, and that's using a template application. So that's where you would have a predefined template in IDEA StatiCa, and then you would apply that to, I guess, a naked connection, or just a member connection. And I'll show a demonstration of this as well. Typically applicable where you have the same number of members in the connection and the geometry is not changing that much, where you might have different loading and you kind of want to see whether that template applies, under those certain loading conditions or something like that.
So you can say that it's a great way to optimize our structure, right?
Yeah, exactly. So instead of opening 50 connections and trying to see whether one's going to work or whatnot, I can apply that template to those 50 connections automatically, and then run the calculation, see which one is working, see which one isn't working, or whatnot, and we'll see some examples of that, and the time savings that you can potentially end up with on some of these examples.
Sounds like a legit way of working.
Yeah. So I think I might kind of jump to an example now, and just kind of show the workflow that or the first workflow in terms of the explicit geometry. Just going to start Grasshopper.
So we have some frame structure, right?
Yeah, so basically here, I know a lot of people probably know Karamba, but I've basically got a Karamba model which I've generated. I've analyzed that model, and now I'm going to show something that the Karamba is developing. It's not quite ready at the moment, but they have now in Karamba, available very soon, an export model to SAF file format. So if you have if you've used the Karamba IDEA plugin, that was quite it's quite focused on creating Karamba models and sending them to IDEA. We're trying to use the SAF format as kind of a more software agnostic way to I guess close the gap with multiple softwares basically. So we can actually export this a SAF model from Karamba now, and in IDEA StatiCa, or save that to disk. And in IDEA StatiCa, we have a component where we can convert that SAF file to IOM basically. So what I'm doing here, I'm importing the SAF file, and what comes out is our open model model. And we also have the open model results. So these are the results that are stored in SAF. They're converted to our structural format. What we can do, or what we can start to do, is deconstruct that open model, and it's very similar to how Grasshopper is working typically. And you'll see that in here we have a list of connection points in the model that we can start to work with. Now, if I and then what I can do is start to deconstruct those connection points, and I can kind of see how many members that connection has in it, or whether there's plates in that connection, bolts, welds as well. At the moment, this has been converted from the SAF file format, so it's got just bare connections in there. So what we can start to do is basically select which connections we want to start to work with. So I've selected the second and the ninth one here, and I might just create a little sphere so I can kind of see which one I'm working with.
Yeah, so you basically would like to just extract two of these connection into IDEA StatiCa, right, from Grasshopper Karamba?
Yeah, exactly. So basically what I've done here is I've selected connection point 2 and connection point 9, and I'm going to start to generate the connection information. So What I can do is I've got the connection point. You can see this, and this is a connection point object. And I can get the connected members out of that. So if I look at my connected members, oh, sorry, I was just gonna. If I zoom in, you can kind of see that I've selected the connected members in this connection. And what I can do is I can basically sort those connected members around, I guess, around a plane, so I can start to use them in a logical manner. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm getting the connected member. I'm finding the related member in the model, and then I can deconstruct the member, and I can start to get some of the cross-section information out of that. So I might want to use the cross-section information to start to drive some of how I create the connection itself. So here I'm taking the cross-section. You can see that I've got a radius and thickness, and these are my values. And I'm basically going to use that radius to drive a gusset or a stiffening plate in that connection. So I'm just going to turn the sphere off, so it just makes it a little bit. Oh, I already had a sphere
there. So you defined cross-section in Caramba, right? All the profiles, so you can retrieve all this information here in IDEA StatiCa afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're seeing here is if I turn off the Caramba view, we also do have we have the preview of the model, or coming from our plugin as well. So and that makes it a little bit clearer. So what I'm doing here is getting the connection point, and basically I'm using Grasshopper to generate this gusset plate outline, and I can obviously use the cross-section diameter to start to play around with how this plate is generated. The other thing I'm doing here is I am wanting to cut some of these members a little bit shorter, so I'm creating some cut planes as well. But all of this geometry is based off the incoming model, basically. So I'm creating an outline for this plate, and then this is all Grasshopper geometry, obviously. And then we have a whole bunch of components which are allowing for the creation of open model objects in Grasshopper. So you can see here, I'm creating a plate. I can give that plate a thickness. I can define material, and I can also define weld properties, and also the cuts between the members. So there's a whole bunch of things that I can define here, and Grasshopper quickly allows you to create these relationships, basically. So once I've defined all those things, I can modify my original connection point that came from the original conversion of IOM. And then you can see now, if I go to the deconstruct connection point, you can see that this connection point now has the plates in it. It now has a whole bunch of cuts in it as well. And I can update that open model. So now I have an open model which has two connections that have been populated with connection information. And I could export this open model to my XML format to import into Checkbot or whatnot, or I can create a connection file directly inside Grasshopper. So now we're kind of going to the connection components, and you can see here I have a create connection from IOM. I put in my open model, and I provide the two connection points that I'm wanting to create. I can activate that. So what it's doing is it's converting, it's selecting the connections, it's getting the open model. Oh, and it's also actually going to calculate the connection downstream as well, because I think I have that selected. So the calculate connection will probably take a little bit.
So basically speaking, you can just generate this plate with all the cuts, all the weld, and send it directly to IDEA StatiCa. When you do it manually, I can imagine that it will lots of work with the all the cuts and the welds. And I imagine that if you change one of the angle of one of the steel, so you have to do everything manually again.
Exactly. If a member size changes, you have to readjust the plate, based on the, if you've got the weld length based on the size of the cross section, or the plate positioning is as per the incoming member. So I'll just quickly open and show you that file that I've created. But basically, once we get to this point, now we have what we call like a connection object. So this is an object that is a connection, and we can start to modify this, or calculate it. Actually, are not running the calculation, but we can use the connection API components to start to do to some of this stuff. Still coming up.
In the meantime, we have a question. Is it possible to populate specific geometry directly from Grasshopper without a previous Caramba model? Question from Ricardo.
Yeah, so you can basically either import an IOM file, or you can create one from SAF, or you can create an IOM absolutely from scratch. So obviously the component here, create open model. So you can create a brand new one from scratch. You can add members to it. You can create connection points without needing a previous a previous file or FEA thing.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
Or I don't think I even opened it.
I have also one more question about just before it will load. Are the loads also integrated in the open model?
Yes, exactly. So you can kind of see when I imported from SAF, I got my open model result, and then I can actually pass that result to that create connection from IOM component as well. So they are available, and I'll show you this. I didn't actually click open before, but hopefully it's coming now. Computer's running out of time.
as you can see, everything is live, so everything as updating.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go.
All right, here we have the connection.
Yeah, so we've got the connection which has been generated. The plate's looking a little bit off, but I think I might have modified it a little bit. And you can see here we have the load effect. So we have the load effects on that connection, basically. But we can obviously play around with this geometry or whatnot as we want. And we can also run the calculation inside of Grasshopper. So I'll just close that. But I guess the power of this is kind of the ability to not just do one connection, but also this same logic applies to obviously this connection as well. You can see that it's got differing number of members, but the logic is the same. I could also do this do this one as well. I could also probably do the two bottom ones as well. So, and also this logic applies when I have another geometry that's similar. So I just import, the new SAF model. It would recreate those connections, and I can sort of start to, I guess, automate the way I'm working, or with a similar type of structure using the logic that I've created in Grasshopper.
Yeah, really cool example. I really like it. So I think people will see this power of this connection in, like, when you can take the same logic and from one connection and apply it to another.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of running a little bit low on time, so maybe I can jump to the other example I have.
Yeah.
If we have time, I'll show the template example, but
Let's go to another example.
Yeah, sounds good. So the other example I was going to show was this one, and basically what we have here is where we might have basically an IDEA StatiCa connection file. Obviously, this connection file is quite complex. It's spatial, and this particular project, there was about 200 of these connection files in the project, and generating the plates manually is a very difficult and time-consuming process. But we had all the connection files generated with all the loads and all the geometry. So what we were able to do using this plugin was actually we can reference a connection. So we can reference an existing connection, and then we can take the open model from that, and then we can start to visualize, I guess, the connections, the connection members and stuff, and start to generate some of this complex plate geometry. As well with this, we had we also automating the logical cut operations. So obviously, this member needs to, there's a logical process in how the cuts are generated. And then with this particular one, what we can actually do in the connection plugin, we have what we call a component called update from IOM. So in this instance, we can actually take an existing connection file and we can kind of push those operations back in into that file. And what we can do is we can save as a new file, basically. So we can provide a suffix, and the component will basically take the existing one, push the new operations in, and save out another one.
Yeah, I really like this. I really like this example because it shows that you don't have to be Karamba or Grasshopper super user to create your all the structure model in Grasshopper, but you can take already existing that is already created and just take it and make some modification, make some maybe difficult stuff, and just save a new file, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of more bulk processing of things. So we use the same script here to run through all those connection files that had been generated, and then also we created another script that re-referenced the updated files and then run the calculation for all of them. So we can start to I guess modulate these things as well. Which kind of helps with some of the processing power as well.
And especially when you have 200 this kind of connection on your project, so you can see the savings.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a question in the meantime. Which version of IDEA support the API?
Yeah, so any version after 21.0 should support the API, but we do recommend to kind of update to the latest versions, because we're always kind of adding features. So the plugin will work with, I guess, the older versions, but it will take whichever latest version you have. But some of the components may not work depending on whether that API functionality was added at that particular time or not.
Would you like to show some of the presentation, or should we jump to question? Maybe you have something more to show.
I guess the last thing I kind of wanted to show is just the possibility of a template application.
Yeah, sure. Just show it.
So in the IDEA StatiCa connection application now, we have what we call parameters, and what that allows the user to do is start to set up some parameters that can drive a previously designed connection, basically. So in this connection, we have this gusset plate operation, and we have a width and a depth in the UI. But we might want to use, I guess, the API to drive that. So we can use parameters for that. And you can kind of see here, if I change that value, it changes it. And I can export that as a template that I want to apply to, I guess, a whole bunch of nodes. And I'll just quickly show how this can be done in the app. So here we're using the same technique as importing, but here we're going to import an IOM file directly. Again, we're sort of getting the connections, and we're choosing some connections to create. But here we've just created the naked connections. We haven't defined any plates or anything in IDEA StatiCa or IOM. So what we do allow is for the application of a template, and I'll see if this might not actually be working anymore.
Maybe some IDEA StatiCa model are open.
No, I need to hit the old play button. And so what this is going to do is it's going to create those the 4 connections that I've selected that I want to apply the template to, and it's going to apply that template to them using in IDEA StatiCa. And then what we can do is we can actually view that geometry in Grasshopper as well. So just give 1 second.
So now it's model updating, or it's recalculating the model?
Yeah, so basically it's creating the connections, it's applying the template, it's extracting the geometry for each of those. And yeah, so you can sort of see here, it's I've provided the template path. I've applied the template, and you can see the geometry of that template, which has come into Grasshopper, and you can see that it's been applied to these 4 connections. And what I can do is I can actually get out those parameters. So I can see which parameters are available in each connection now. So plate width or plate depth. And for instance, I could I could change this parameter if the plate is too looking too big, or whatever, or it's not big enough, or the thickness isn't right. And then I can start to modify that directly inside Grasshopper and kind of get that real-time feedback on the geometry. So this is kind of using the new parameters interface. And basically what it's doing is it's importing the connection, applying that template, modifying the connection, and I can also start to run, I guess, the calculations inline as well, or view that geometry. So that's another kind of workflow that's if you already have, I guess, those operations or things defined, you can use that as well here.
Cool. Great examples. I think like lots of people really like this free example that you presented. So maybe let's go to some question, make Q&A session. I see that Adam answer lots of them, but we can still have some time so we can answer. Thank you, Nathan. Just before Q&A session, I really would like to invite you for next Learn Grasshopper live session. In 4 weeks, we are going to talk about advanced structure engineering in GSA Oasis. I suppose that IDEA StatiCa has this connection with Oasis, right? Oasis, right, Nathan?
It's something I think there is something. I think we're kind of talking with Oasis at the moment to try and get a more robust checkbot link for GSA working. Yeah.
So this will be the next one, and of course there will be also about tech class structures because this is the software mainly used for modeling. So maybe we can also introduce a little bit about how to use tech class structure for creating connection. So for everyone interested in the new live sessions about these topics or want to learn a Grasshopper, I always recommend to go to learngrasshopper.com and sign up for free mailing when I'm trying to introduce Grasshopper from scratch. And you can also download this guide that it was already downloaded more than 12,000 times, 5 steps to learn Grasshopper. So here you will going to get the tips and tricks, but also invitations for the next live session. Okay, let's go to Q&A session. Let's start from the top. Let's say from Anthony. Hello, I have the main and beam column and some loads, and I need to plot bending and shear diagrams and also find the optimal section for the main beam, so I can do this on IDEA StatiCa.
Is this related to a connection?
I think so. I think so. If we have some load, so
yeah. So I mean, definitely once the connection file is generated, you can either set up a parameter for the section size, and you can start to use the parameter to automate, say, changing of those section sizes to find the optimal section. So you can start to loop or use the parameter interface to change cross sections, and you could do this in Grasshopper as well for a single connection that you want to do the optimization on.
Cool. Next one, can IOM read by any software?
It could be if someone wanted to write the import for it. The documentation is free and available online, and also the modules that allow, I guess, the XML import. But I would say that there's not too many software that actually support it now at the moment. And kind of as I said, it's used as a mechanism for us to generate models specifically in IDEA StatiCa. And typically we're trying to convert with the more open formats, such as SAF, which are more widely used in the industry. And we try and do that conversion to IOM, which is a bit more beneficial for software vendors and other engineers out there as well.
Yeah, hope that more software vendors will go in this direction.
Yeah, exactly.
What about the Abacus? Do you have experience in that? Do you have any connection between IDEA StatiCa and Abacus?
We don't actually have a connection with it, so to speak. I mean, you could write your own if you wanted to. We kind of feel that Abacus is kind of it's not something that your everyday engineer is using, and it's mainly it's probably used for very, very sophisticated models. And we we would kind of, I guess, we kind of use it for some of our verifications and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's an interesting question, but I'd have to kind of get back to you on kind of what we do have available for that.
Yeah. Caramba IDEA, because it was the name of the plugin before, does it replace the plugin that you showed now, or is still called Caramba IDEA?
Yeah, so they are different plugins. So
Okay.
Caramba IDEA was developed by Rayan Ajus, and I know a lot of people are using it, and we kind of are trying to use, I guess, the SAF format to sort of generate to do that conversion between Caramba and I guess IDEA StatiCa. If you're using Caramba IDEA or you've used it in the past to generate connection files, it can be used in conjunction with our plugin, basically. So once those connection files are generated, we can use our plugin to kind of modify or add operations and stuff. The Caramba IDEA plugin was mainly used only for that template workflow that I showed last, and we kind of found that a lot of people were really wanting that geometry, the geometry visualization and creation of the complex geometry. So that's kind of where our plugin is really trying to focus.
Cool. Is it possible to create loads in Grasshopper? Or is it always have to be different software? Can you create loads? Basically speaking, like I'm just thinking about this question, like you just provide an Excel arc with the coordinates of the points and the loads direction. So basically speaking, you can generate, but maybe you have also answer for that.
You can create like result files, and there's actually an example when you download the plugin for creating those result files. But I'd be interested to hear exactly what 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 uh, what their meaning of that question is. So I definitely suggest writing it on our GitHub, and we can sort of discuss it further. But the simple answer is it is possible in Grasshopper to generate results or internal forces.
Yeah, here we have a quite long question, but maybe we can answer that. IDEA StatiCa accepts the loads at the end of each element. However, the loads from the finite element model refer to the node. So an experienced user of StatiCa knows that the loads from the model might need to be adjusted. So the question is there a way to streamline the workflow, geometry loads when using Grasshopper?
Using Grasshopper, you can, I guess, explicitly define anything that you want and how you want to. Um, uh, so that would kind of be the simple answer. The way that our results work is we provide, I guess, the FEM model results at points along the beam, and we actually take those results and convert those to the forces on the members in connection. So if there's something specific, or if the results need to be modified in a certain way, then you can do that in Grasshopper. Um, uh, so that is possible. Or I would suggest checking the workflow with Checkbot to see whether how those forces are imported. I didn't actually show the slide on Checkbot, but basically you can import the FEM results, and you can visualize them in I guess our Checkbot application, and see how they directly convert to connection forces.
Cool. How do I access the available commands with Grasshopper API, or do we have a component library?
You just need a Is this not using the components, I'm guessing? So the IDEA StatiCa API is available via a NuGet package. So if you don't want to use Grasshopper components, the wrapper that I have written to create the components is available, but it's not, I guess, a fully documented API. And if it's a question about just using the components that are available, then all you need is a IDEA StatiCa license, basically, that has API functionality.
Cool. Let me see. I have a really nice question. Where the IDEA StatiCa development heading? Maybe it's more personal question or your work question. Is it going to evolving into becoming a full finite element-based 3D modeling tool? What is your, maybe it's more about you, not about IDEA StatiCa. What about development in the Grasshopper and Beam team where you are working?
Yeah. Yeah, I think like what we're really focused on is really enabling the design of the detail, those really hard aspects of structural engineering where you're spending a lot of time doing hand calculations, trying to figure out you know, assumptions to be able to design something such as a structural connection or like a really complex concrete detail or something like that. And that's always been our focus, and that will be our focus going forward. In the BIM team, we're really focused on trying to make interoperability as quick and as painless as possible, and to really be able to, I guess, manage those larger structures. So, you know, um, you know, grouping and all that sort of stuff, and that's probably going to be I guess the next thing for us to kind of tackle in the BIM team. So really focus on those automated types of the time consuming things that that are happening in engineering at the moment.
We have lots of questions. Nathan, do you have still 5 minutes to answer? We have
Yeah, no problems.
we have still 300 people. So we have Joanna from I think Fem Design. Hi, it seems quicker in most cases to work with predefined templates, as you shown on the last example. I assume. In what situation would you model directly in Grasshopper instead of creating a template? Because you showed like these two ways of working.
Yeah. It's kind of I guess where you know that you kind of as I presented in that slide on the two options, where you have geometry that is really difficult to define via the local coordinate system of a member, and in that spatial connection, you see that there's two members coming in, but the plate geometry is dependent on some you know, some average of the vector directions. So it's really difficult to model that, I guess, in IDEA StatiCa. So that is where you have to basically use Grasshopper. So that's one instance, and then where you've got logic. More members or differing number of members in a connection where you want the same logic, but the list lengths might be different. So applying a template in that situation is actually quite difficult because it's hard for us to understand what should go where. Basically, the template is defined by a number of members. Yeah.
Cool. I'm bombarding you with the questions, so I hope you are not tired.
Keep them coming.
Give me more. Give me more. Is it possible to evaluate similar connection in order to apply the same type of connection for the other one?
It's possible to evaluate similar connection in order to apply the same connection type for the other ones. I'm not sure if this is in regards to sort of grouping or the template application. Oh, okay. So is this like, yeah, I think this is grouping. So at the moment in the Grasshopper plugin, we're kind of leaving it up to the user. As you sort of saw, there was kind of, we just spit out a list of connections. but you can deconstruct that connection point to like figure out, how many members are in that connection, what are the member sizes in that connection, and we're kind of making it generalized to allow Grasshopper users to figure out the best way that they want to create that or to do that sort of dispatching of different connections. It's something that we are looking at in terms of how best to group or provide different options to allow connection grouping for template application and stuff like that. So, but at the moment, it's a very general solution. We're leaving it up to the user to kind of come up with their way of logically, I guess, splitting groups apart and stuff like that.
What about the robot? Question from Hendra. Will the IOM model will be created with the robot add-in?
Yeah, so as I said, every every checkbot link that we have available creates an IOM. So if you go into the folder that's created when that checkbot model is created, there's an IOM file in there. It's called import.xml, and that file can be imported into Grasshopper, kind of as I showed with that template application. So you could, for instance, if you've got 100 connections that are very simple and you don't need to use Grasshopper for it, or you don't want to, you've got a couple, you can import the certain connections using that IOM file and then generate the geometry in Grasshopper if you like.
Let me see. Here is an interesting question. Can we view the result of IDEA StatiCa back in Rhine and Grasshopper?
We only have a text-based viewing at the moment.
Okay.
So, for instance, you can run the calculation and you can get results back, but we're not providing like a visualization of the results in Rhino. The user can obviously set that up themselves if they want to. But you can obviously get whether the connection has passed or failed, but it's up to the user at the moment to do that visualization. We don't have it available in the current plugin.
Cool. Okay, should we take the last question? Let me see. I will here. Here I think we already answered that. Can we grab geometry from IDEA StatiCa and modify in Grasshopper and back in IDEA StatiCa? Yes, Nathan show it in the example. Maybe this one from Janek. When importing from a SAF file, how does the open model treat forces on nodes? Does this result in out of balance forces with loads, not in equilibrium?
Forces on nodes. Yeah, that's an interesting point. It should. Forces on nodes are really difficult to to take into account. I believe they may result in forces not in equilibrium due to the but I think that's a sort of a common thing with the way that we're transferring forces at the moment. So I hope that does answer that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We are already after 3 p.m. Central European time, so we have lots of comments. Good job. Thank you for the content from Adrela. We have Gianluca. Thanks. Lots of good content. Thank you very much for being a guest. And yeah, as we said, we are, for those who registered on learngrasshopper.com, we are going to send the PDF from the presentation and one of the examples, right, with the Grasshopper file. I'm not sure which one you decided to send. Is it a spatial connection or which you are going to share?
I'll share the two bigger ones. The spatial connection is available with the plugin right now, so people can download that and get that example right now. So
okay, Again, thank you, Adam. Thank you very much for your all support. I see that you wrote tons of answers and comments. I think everyone is satisfied with the answer. We have Marco, we have Federico. Thanks a lot. Great presentation. Yeah, lots of good comments. You made a good job, and I'm really really admiring how you answer all of these questions. Like I can spend 1 hour, next 1 hour, just asking your question, and you, without any pause, you can answer all of them. So thank you again very much. And yeah, maybe if you are guys interested in some of the trainings about IDEA StatiCa and Grasshopper, so you can just reach me or reach IDEA StatiCa support. So maybe we can think about it. So maybe it will be interest, right?
Yeah, so we have our GitHub, which has a Rhino and Grasshopper thread in a discussion forum. So I'd encourage people to jump on there and ask questions and whatnot, and then we can answer them.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Nathan, very much. And yeah, see you in the next